right-of-way issues. They're mainly just for note than anything else. 6 trees have been planted near the Simpson Avenue roundabout. I met with interim engineer Jessica Aldine to view the site and make suggestions as to where the city could plant them, subject to wherever utilities are placed around that particular roundabout. And I believe at least 3 of those trees have been planted, and maybe all 6 of them now have been planted. The 3 I know are planted are Kentucky coffee trees.
What kind?
Kentucky coffee trees, okay, near to Sonic.
Okay.
I went on a tour that the city engineer Salah Aldabaja and others and with some others, and Anne Bonner was with us on that one as well, to view the part of the West Union Street project. Following some suggestions that were made about the way the Herald Street junction was being laid out and how we were concerned about saving trees near to that point along West Union Street. There are a lot of sycamore trees there. The city has now put in place a plan for a multi-use path. So basically it's a sidewalk that'll have bicycles on it and other things. But it'll be moved significantly further away from the road than the current sidewalk is. In fact, the current sidewalk stops at one point and it just ends. And so we walked along there from the starting point was the Restore building. That's where this multi-use path will connect back to the sidewalk on West Union Street. We started there and we walked west along West Union Street towards the old schoolhouse that Habitat put on West Union Street. And we made suggestions about how far away this pathway should be from the existing trees. Some questions popped up, and I'm glad Susan Calhoun's here from the university, because you might be able to answer this question. Towards the end of this walk, we came across several yew trees that had been planted, and I suspect you might have planted them. No? Okay.
That would be a no.
Okay. It's interesting, that is it?
And you're talking about near the Habitat house?
Yeah.
No, that was not OU.
Okay. Oh well. So we thank
Not
whoever did
officially
it, because
anyways.
they look as if they're doing fine. But
No, we didn't do that.
okay. Yeah.
Super donor.
Yep, that's fine. Yeah, it's wonderful. I had an idea that it might have been the university that did it, but that's okay. That's fine. So they, I think it was a good route for them to take. It should mean that, subject to the construction limits being honoured by the contractors, then the existing trees, which are mature sycamores, will survive. I don't know if Anne, Bonnie, you want to make any comment on this at all?
No, I think that's a good summary. I thought it was a really good meeting. I thought the engineering staff did a really good job of explaining, and they made changes. You know, originally they had included a sidewalk along the roadside as the trees which were required. You know, changing the grade and wells around the trees, and I had some concerns about that, so I thought that was a really nice way to get the walk away from the traffic and it would be a beautiful place for people to walk and ride their bike now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it'll be very nice.
And I haven't told Susan yet about the idea of planting seedlings in the no-mow area. We'll talk later.
Interesting.
Yeah, these
they will come if we don't mow it.
and we want to pick what comes as opposed to letting nature pick.
All right.
Yeah, it's a good
Sorry.
So I'll put a copy of a map that we used for the site in the minutes of these meetings. I meant to have it available, but I couldn't find it in the time before the meeting, so I will attach it to the minutes of the meeting. Moving along, we have a tree permit for 227 Columbus Road. and there are several trees that could be in the right of way, but we're waiting for the code office to determine if they are. And then there's a question of what should be done with these trees. I believe they're
sort of hanging fire for quite a while.
Yeah, a couple, 2 or 3 weeks. I was hoping David Riggs would be here, but he's not, so I can't follow up with him on that one. But that's the hold up on that one. And then this other request, which came in this week, I got a very quick answer on that because I prepared a tree permit for these trees, and you'll know these trees. There's 2 maples that look absolutely horrible because they've been brutally pruned by AEP over the years, and you just got this big stump and all these water sprouts going up into the air.
But coincidentally, AEP's planning to prune there,
yes.
right? Or do work there.
Yeah. So I mean, we obviously would have to respect the wishes of the adjacent property owner, but if they're willing, if they agree, I would like AEP to take those trees out, so either AEP or ourselves can plant some small trees along there, because it's a good site for trees, but it's right underneath those high voltage cables, and so they're always going to get pruned heavily. Yeah, I with the tree permit, I submitted a photograph of where these trees were and copied it to David Riggs. He replied quickly, and then Andrew Schicky emailed out, and I think you may have all been copied on that there's a big list of streets that are due to be visited by AEP's contractor next year, including Elmwood. Yes.
For those sites where you're proposing possibly to remove those maples, are the lines high enough that we could put small trees?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, you can always find a small tree that will go underneath those high voltage cables, because those high voltage cables have to be at least, I think it's 35 or 40 feet up in the air. I mean,
Okay.
they're a
Something
long way.
like a hedge maple?
Yeah, hedge maple, hawthorn, crab apples. I mean, there's all sorts of service berries. There's all sorts of trees that
Yeah,
can go.
there's some trees which are longer lived than others.
Yeah. So that's my list of sort of Title 33 issues. Any questions remaining or hovering?
Just an update that the trees that we got from the Nards, which were supposed to be planted at West State Street, they have not been planted yet because the city is still working on the site. So Greenleaf has been out, inspected the trees, city's taking care of them. They seem to be fine right now.
What construction are they doing up here, you know?
Right now it's backfilling. It's backfilling for parking spaces and some other things that I don't know what's
There's a
going
big pile
on.
of dirt, is that?
Yeah, well, I think that it's more than just dirt. I think that it's fill.
Get debris in it.
also. Yeah. So Kevin Skurlock just made the decision that it wasn't safe to plant the trees, but they are maintaining them.
Yeah, and they're all, it's all in a cool area and they're dormant anyway, and just.
But they
just need to
did
be-
plant the trees at Carroll Road, and those look really good.
Oh, okay. And
We do want to, I've been learning from serving some different communities lately that we want to be very clear with contractors about proper planting and holding them to the industry standards. You know, there are specifications put out by the Division of Forestry and the ONLA, the Nursery Landscape Association, and we're just seeing so many trees planted too deep and just not, and the stuff not pulled away from them. We really want to make sure, and it might mean, Roxanne, that you might delegate to another tree commissioner to make sure you're on site, and when those trees are getting planted, that you set the bar high from the beginning so that they know what you expect and hold them to that, because it's way too easy for them to just shove the tree in the small hole. And
Have you worked with Greenleaf before? I'm just curious if they've maybe met with, it might be appropriate for them to meet with you, because the city is going to be contracting with Greenleaf, I think on a regular basis for tree planting. So if you were willing to maybe meet with them, I think that that would be worthwhile.
I'm happy to, but it comes down to what you're paying the bills and what you guys have in your contract. But yeah, I'm happy to show them how to do it or meet with them on site. Let me know.
The root flare has to be above grade. It's gotta be, and almost all trees that we get in these days, it is buried. So you gotta go in, peel it back, find the root flare, set it at the proper height. The industry is culpable, but the landscaper needs to fix it as they plant it.
One of the issues is we need to get the city to confirm that we can do that, because these contractors are working for the city.
Yeah, they're not working for
not
Shade
working
Tree.
for us.
Well, yes, so they
So-
are working for the city, but you are an appointed official with the city.
Well,
Actually,
I'm not sure. No, we're not.
yeah. As much as I love working with Kevin, it's been pretty clear that we are to stay out of it.
Okay, yeah, so our
At
role
this
is
point.
advisory.
Yeah, our role is advisory to, help determine what trees and where, but for the actual planting, it was very clear that the city wanted to have the direct contact.
I'll give you an example. I was there when they were planting these 3 Kentucky coffee trees on Simpson Avenue. And I'm going to write a note to Jessica about what I saw, because all they did was hollow out a bowl big enough to put this burlap root ball into. Now, I believe they did take off the burlap. I hope they did.
Did they
because
find the flare? Did they peel it down to find? Okay, that's improper planting.
Yeah. And this is the problem.
It'll be too deep.
Now-
We
It'll
have,
set up girdling
we have
roots.
to agree a set of standards for the city to follow and to enforce with its contractors.
Now, when I did talk to Greenleaf, I did talk to them about proper planting, and they did mention that they had, read up on current regulations and that they were aware, and they cited some to me. So I think that they have some awareness, but yeah, I do think that
So how do
the
we?
city should ensure that, they are getting the service that they want.
And that's
But how do
the
we,
power.
how do we intercede here? I mean, what is it?
We don't.
All we can,
no,
all we can do is ask.
Yeah.
That's all we can do.
We
Oh,
need to find out who we can talk to tell them why we're doing this. I mean,
Right, but Nancy, what I've been told is that we are advisory for the number of trees and the location of the trees, and that the city wants to have the direct contact with Greenleaf. That's
Oh,
been made clear
Greenleaf.
to me.
Well, Greenleaf, okay.
Yeah, so, but what I could do is I can suggest to Kevin that Ann has a conversation with Greenleaf as a preferred provider for the city, just to go over it once, and hopefully they will understand the expectations.
So did Greenleaf do the plantings on the roundabout?
No,
No, that's.
no, that was a contractor that was engaged with Simpson Avenue project.
So you
It
weren't
always-
allowed to talk to them either?
Well, it comes down to what's specified in the contract.
I wouldn't do it.
So it really needs to be spelled out, because the guy that we talked to at Greenleaf might not be the guy that's driving the tree to the site, digging the hole, and.
The contract, the only thing that it says is how many trees will be planted.
Doesn't say how
It
they're
does,
gonna be planted.
it does
See,
not go into,
this is
oh,
what-
and it goes into unwrapping the trees
Did we
and
send a
making
letter?
sure the wire and the burlap are, that they did say.
Good.
But it didn't talk about, anything else, how big the hole would be, the flare,
I'll get back to you.
anything like
You know,
that.
I think our role is advisory, and I think we just have to stay consistent and in the game. And eventually, it's not going to be more than a couple of years for them to realize if they don't do it right, the trees will just sit there.
Yeah.
And we've seen
The
that.
thing that would really help is if we had a document.
Oh, we do.
If you've got one,
Yes.
we can then use.
If you can send it to me, then I'm happy to share it with
Yeah.
Kevin, and I'm sure
Yeah.
he will
And then
absolutely share it with
I will
Greenleaf.
also add it to the minutes of these notes.
Sure
this
thing,
meeting
yes.
as well.
And then we
Yes.
can make it part of the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As an
tree
addendum.
planting specs. I will send those to you tomorrow.
That's
Thank
the only thing
you.
we can do is put it in the contract.
Yeah, I don't mean to be taking a duck. I just, I like the relationship that I think that we're building with the city.
Yeah.
But I think that there is some give and take on what the expectations are for how heavily we're involved versus they're involved. And
But the thing that is important to notice is that, I mean, the trees can die if they don't, you know,
Yeah.
if they want the trees to live, if they want the trees to live, they need to have somebody tell them how to do it.
Yeah, well, we know that, but
Yeah.
Wait, can I have something to dovetail onto this situation. So I recently reviewed the city's Tree City USA application, and it was good, and I was really pleased, and I was impressed because, you know, it was done by somebody who's not a forester, you know, and luckily none of this is rocket science, and I could see that, I mean, you have a good thing going, you really do. What is being done is every time there's a complaint or concern about a tree, it's in a spreadsheet. And trees are being pruned, you know, at the request of property owners and removed when necessary. So it's all working really well. But I've seen a couple trees that got pruned wrong. And it's so subtle, you know, and yes, the needs of the property owner were met. You know, the tree, there was one on 8, for example, 8 North Court Street. It's a big street tree. Finally doing what we want them to do. You know, it's kind of slowed down its growth and everything. But if we could get good specifications, I think we could, you know, if you see the pruning, there's stubs, the tree was rounded, you know, which is hard to do and it's expensive to do. And I think if with better specifications and better communication, you know, we could have maybe, you know, saved a little bit of money, number one, but also done a better job with that tree over the long term.
Do you know if
but I think it is working with Kevin.
Yeah.
And I'll try
I'm
to-
just wondering who's pruning the trees right now because they don't actually have somebody who's certified.
It was
staff
contract, so it's being contracted out, and it seems very, very organized, and you know, they're the trees that we've all been involved with looking at, and where
Yeah.
the trees that are.
So who's the contract?
it's the same
Well, I
contractor
don't know who
planted
the
trees
contract.
in the
Well,
hole.
I don't want to go there now.
Yeah.
Because it's not my job to educate contractors.
Right.
And it's the city has to decide what kind of work they want done. And I think, so what I think I have to do, or maybe Roxanne and I,
Yeah.
we have to work with Kevin to say, hey, here's the specs, and here's how you can get more
Yeah.
work out of them, you know, more efficiently.
I think, yeah, if we can give him the paperwork and explain the specifications and we build up the knowledge of the city, I'm sure that will raise their expectations for their contractors.
I will send them to you, and then maybe we can talk about how to
Yep.
share it.
Sounds good.
Sorry about that, Dave.
Sorry. Okay, moving along to Title 37, an apology from me. I meant to attach the emails and the plan for the relocation of some trees at the Goodwill site. This is purely for the record, just to establish that some trees had to be moved for an AEP project which is going over this property. But these trees are not on city land, but it will mean that there'll be a change to the approved plan for the Goodwill site. That's all. And so this will just be documentation going into the minutes for that. There's nothing else we need to do with that one.
But it was really great that that AEP reached out to the city, and I thought we demonstrated that we kind of were organized. So
Yeah.
that was nice of them to do that.
Yep.
I agree.
Now, moving on to the third item, plans and maintenance of the tree canopy. I believe, Nancy, you got some plans from Anne?
Yeah, I think she sent them all to everybody.
Yes, I just wondered if you could give us a summary of what
Well, the
what
one
you
is obviously done by the consultant. It was really extremely well done and full of all kinds of information that wasn't necessary for us to have to learn to do. But the other one was from Vermilion, and it was fairly simple and easy and a good model, I think, that we could use and adapt pretty well. I thought the thing that came to my mind, it said at one point, they had a calendar of events, things that they do each on a certain time. And I was thinking of the things that we did. I made a list, just, you know, on the top of my head. And I thought that might be a good starting point. In fact, I made copies of that. And I thought if each of us could jot down some of the things that I forgot, I already have added to mine. So just take one and and look it over and see what things that you think might be important things that we want to do. And
Good.
Nancy, that's a great idea. The list is a great idea, and some towns, that is their plan. They have a schedule, and in January, we da-da-da-da-da, in February, we, and
it makes it really simple.
Yeah.
If you focus on the actual work that you're doing rather than the philosophy behind it.
Yeah.
Or whatever else. But I'm sure there are things that, like I forgot to put Athens in Bloom on here, and the fair, we could do the fair. We could,
tomorrow I'll send you, I just looked at one where a town had that. I can't remember what town it was, but it had January, February, March, all the months. And that might jar your memory.
It was part of the Vermilion.
What's that?
It was part of the Vermilion.
Oh, it was? Oh, okay.
They had several different parts to it, so.
Okay.
Very good. So we have a model.
Yeah,
So
that's great,
the other
Nancy,
part of
thank
it
you.
was that Ann had suggested it, and I thought it was a great idea, and passed it on to David. He said it was okay with him. He just didn't want to have to do it.
Yeah,
And
no, I
then we have
reinvent the wheel.
a
Just change the names and, hey, but I want to tell you guys that this is the time to do this because there is going to be a lot of dollars.
Well, I think we can follow this and maybe have a subcommittee of those who would be willing to work outside of this meeting. And begin to put together some
Yeah.
goals and
That will be good.
things. So who would be interested?
So I volunteered to help. I mean, my term is ending, but if it's
Yeah, you could still be a
legitimate,
volunteer.
I would be, as a volunteer, to work on that.
How about
So-
you, Roxanne?
I'm going to stay with Athens and Bloom.
Say what?
Sorry. I'm going to stay with Athens and Bloom. It's beginning to pick up again,
Okay.
so I think I'm going to have to bow out of that.
And that's going to be part of the,
And don't get bogged down in this,
We
Nancy,
could
like,
maybe do it after this meeting.
And
or
I'll
come
also do the
before this meeting.
pollinator garden
yeah,
reviews.
you've got your plate full.
Yeah.
You do it between
I'll stay
now
with
and the
her.
next meeting.
Yes. Stuff.
I don't have any ideas. So I'll have to look at, with holidays and travel and stuff
I
like that,
know,
it's hard to pick a day.
Well, we'll wait till January.
That might work.
but don't get too bogged down in the minutia of it. I think establishing it and sharing it with the city administration and saying, hey, this is, our general guide, because this is the document that makes you competitive for grants. I mean, I think that's what's driving this, right?
Yeah.
And if we do that with working, kind of working off of specifications, it's professionalizing your program.
Right.
And so
The part that I mentioned to Ann that she said I shouldn't worry so much about, but I see it as a central part of both of the plans that we had, was that they have figured out how many trees they have and how many they need to meet their goal.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have that.
don't worry about it.
You can put numbers together on that one. I mean, we have some data, and okay, it may not be. It's never going to be perfect. You can always do better. So I
Trees
wouldn't
can
worry
die,
about it.
trees can sprout.
Yeah. Okay, so that sounds like that's moving along. That's good.
We'll get together in January then,
Okay.
anybody who wants to do it.
Okay,
And I'll help you, Nancy. Just let me know. Okay.
oh, great.
AEP are going to be coming through in 2022 to do a lot of pruning. The notice I saw was that they're starting at the Stroud's Run substation and coming into the east side of the city, and then I got today a big long list of streets within the city that will be visited by AEP, and I will attach those to this to the minutes of this meeting.
I have a question. So when I see all the Asplund trucks, is that AEP?
Yes, they are the contractor.
Okay, because right now they're working on the south side
Yes.
in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And
Believe it or not, Asplund win prizes in other states for the quality of their pruning, and it is significantly better than it is round here.
I would just say that there were trees that were planted under the power lines that never should have been planted, and I think that
They're not responsible for those.
right, and so that leaves very little recourse other than for them to butcher
right.
trees.
Except, no, you see,
or remove them.
that's where I disagree, because I've seen pruning in New York State where they have won prizes because of the quality of the pruning, and they've produced these interesting shapes out of trees where they've managed to get the cables to go through, and they've managed to prune the tree.
Well, I
appropriately.
think that...
And it's clearly been done
because the way...
several times.
The way that they're doing it right now is they're not clearing space for the lines to go through. They're ensuring that nothing even gets close to the power lines.
Yeah, I know what
And
they do.
I don't know what the
understand
specification is.
Yeah, well, I don't understand why in one state the same contractor, Asplund, is winning prizes, but in this state they can't even do the basics and follow the standard guidelines.
I think it starts with expectations, and so people will live up or down to our expectations. There are cities in Ohio that have set the expectation for how to work around power lines, and there are, again, specifications and industry standards, and they are, like David said, it's called directional pruning.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you can have a tree that only has branches on one side, and you might have a tree that's got a hole in the middle of it. So our AEP foresters are trained in these techniques. Most of the guys that run on those crews either have been exposed to that. We have to reach out to and build a relationship with them, and help them understand what our expectations are, and eventually make them live up to those expectations. So it starts with working with the forester that has Athens. And
So
I
there's
wish
an
I could say I
AEP
knew who that is
forester?
right now, and I don't. I should. I've forgotten, because Steve Stanley used to be the forester, but he is. Yeah. Rich Simpson is the regional forestry supervisor. He's out of Chillicothe, and he is a colleague of mine and a good friend. I can ask him who's handling Athens now. They have, the foresters now are just like everything. They're doing more, and they have bigger areas. But I think about Marietta. AEP has a great relationship with the city of Marietta, and they have cut down very expensive trees for the city at no cost on occasion, saving the city thousands of dollars. And they've also planted trees too with the city. So I think it's something that we should work for. Again, we are advisory, but in Marietta, the tree commission is kind of what led that relationship.
Yeah.
And then it grew into this.
You think he might be willing to come to one of our meetings? Or
What's
something?
that?
You think he might be willing to come to one of our meetings?
You should invite the AEP forester. That is a great idea. Yes, that's a wonderful idea.
So if you can find out who it is, then we'll send the invite.
I'm gonna need to start writing stuff down here.
There
You
was
guys give me-
a woman forester for AEP who used to come to when we could meet in person for the tree care conference in the fall, and I've talked to her about about her work, and so and she was coming to the meeting, so I wonder if she was not in the district or what. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, so she worked for AEP?
Yes, I think so. I mean, she was working under power lines. I mean, she was working.
And she was coming to our tree commission, Athens Tree Commission meetings?
Your tree conference, right?
Oh, my tree conference.
Right.
Which is the southeast region, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that come to that, and usually the AEP foresters do come to that, so
Yeah.
I cannot think who that is.
Okay.
I will try to find out who your forester is, though.
Okay.
Very good.
I should know, sorry.
So does
I
this
just
mean
got
that
a
AEP is
contact,
going to
so
be
I
trimming
can
trees
find
on
out
the east side?
Yes.
They just gave me
And I will attach
They
a
took
list
it.
of the streets.
Do they have,
So
do
Steve,
you know anything about their schedule? Or we just
No,
got-
no. All we've got at the moment is a notice that says they're coming in 2022 and here's the list of streets.
well,
Eventually there will be a
contact,
schedule.
so I'll
You have
ask
a
this
street.
contact.
I will attach it to the minutes of this meeting, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They've ripped.
Because they were just there last year, trimming trees.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not
Right.
happy, and I'm wanting to establish
They're in mine
somebody
right
that
now.
I can hold accountable.
yeah. Okay.
Are you south of?
she-
I'm south,
South.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the minutes of the November the 4th meeting, unless there's anything else people want to raise.
Yeah, I wanted to
Yes.
comment on what looks like future rain gardens on Simpson. I was really excited to see them. And do you know anything, anybody mentioned that, about
They're
what's
big troughs.
going to go in
and
there?
cement.
Nope. If you look down, you'll see some plants in there, which I think they're way too low down to survive, but I wasn't consulted, no.
Yeah, well, we were driving by there yesterday, the ones I passed.
My assumption is that they're going to look like the ones on West Union Street, but I don't know that.
That's what Lee thought too.
Yeah,
That's what I was guessing.
yeah, but
So you think they're rainfall gardens?
they're meant to detain water for a period of time, and so there'll be water
That's what
building
they
up in
call
them. Yeah, and at the moment, if you look in them, you'll find little plant pots with I forget what it is that's in there.
We'll have to
Angela, look,
on.
I gave Angela a picture of one of them, and she did sort of recognise it,
Yeah.
and she thought, well, maybe it'll survive in there. But it seemed very deep to me to be putting plants in. I mean, there was at least 18 inches below the top of
Well,
this
maybe
thing.
these plants are actually 15 feet.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
But at any rate, it's exciting the city is going to have all, because there aren't a
Something
number.
new.
It's not just 2 or 3, but it's all spread down between East State Street and the roundabout.
The
pretty
other
much.
thing is that we don't know anything about it. That's the other thing that's interesting.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know. if they're
in
putting-
fairness,
Yeah, but
They-
that's not our bailiwick.
What?
Jessica aiding from the engineering department, she did consult with the tree commission. Dave and I walked this, walked
Yeah,
Simpson with her
we were
during.
identifying sites for trees. We weren't
Right.
looking at rain gardens.
Right.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, but
You know
so
anything about those?
yeah, she explained a little bit, but again, it was outside my area of expertise, so I kind of was focusing. I was so busy trying to get trees, which was so hard because there's limited right of way there.
Well, I think that the shade tree's gonna experience something really interesting though, in that our mandate in the past has been trees, but now we have the pollinator gardens. And so when I said that I wasn't willing to step in, to the tree survey and stuff, it's because it's envisioned that I might actually take the pollinator
Yeah. And
garden
the other issue
part of
is
it. So
that we're supposed to be watching out for the city planting 50%, is it native species, or 75% in there?
Depending where
in
it
these,
is,
in these
yeah.
rain gardens, for instance. They're
Yeah.
yeah, so we're getting some interesting mandates now
Yeah.
that we're trying to determine what we're.
Well, you are very relevant, I mean, this is
And I
important
brought up
stuff.
the rain gardens because we learned about them at one of your tree care conferences. That was in Columbus, and we saw them,
Yeah.
and I thought it was very exciting. And then they appeared on West Union, and I visited some of the sites in Columbus to see what the rain gardens were like there. So anyway, it was very exciting to see them here.
Not that I want to throw something else at Jessica, but part of me thinks that it would be really helpful to have the city engineer come to our meetings to
Yeah.
tell us when city projects will involve plantings of trees and pollinator
Shrubs.
gardens, because very often we don't find out about projects in a timely manner. And right now, we do not have a commissioner, or a council person who's here. As you notice, we've requested it multiple times. So I think that somehow, we need to do a better job of reaching out and making connections.
That's a great idea, Roxanne. And Jessica is really good, I think, at like sending email. Like if she has a question about trees, she will always email me, and I love that she's so
She's
holistic in
receptive.
her approach to
Yeah.
it. But what I need to do is when she does that, I need to say, hey, how about presenting it formally to the tree commission? And I'm sorry that I haven't done that before. I should
And
do that.
maybe it's just that we formalize it and we say once a quarter,
Yeah.
this is the meeting, where we're going to put you on the agenda and you tell us the projects that are coming
Oh, that's a
our
great
way.
idea.
That's a great idea, especially with West Union, like the sycamore trees, so that we can monitor, the work
Yeah.
limits and make sure those trees. One of my suggestions to Jessica was have
to delegate one of the tree commissioners to be the enforcer, to go out once a week and make sure the construction fencing is, I know David's like, thank goodness for masks, but, you know, or just to report back, like, hey, you know, the contractors drove through the fence,
Yeah.
you know, or they're storing equipment underneath the shade of the tree, because you guys, it's gonna happen.
It takes
Yeah.
constant monitoring. I
Yes.
know, being the bad cop all the time, it's nonstop.
Yeah, so if that comes up, that's because I suggested Jessica approach you guys about that, but,
We'll know who to blame.
yeah, well, that's what a fun job.
Yep.
To go out and see. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put that in the minutes as well. Thank you, Lee,
Thank you, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Anything else before we get to the minutes of the last meeting? If not, can we review the minutes of the last meeting? I did send out a very large document last night
Well,
that
one thing
included...
before you go on, Are you going to talk about the change of people?
People are changing, but we don't know how.
Yeah. All I know is that I'm not being
David does have
renewed,
information.
Lee isn't being renewed, and David Sinkoff asked that he would not be renewed. So there'll be 3 of us stepping back from the Tree Commission. That's all we know.
But we have no idea who the replacements are, and we have no idea who the chair will be.
It's up to us to recruit them.
Oh, I thought you said you
what's
weren't.
Are they wanting people to suggest, you know,
I'm sorry.
I thought you just said you were not going to.
I only knew that this was
I have
happening
to.
because
I have to.
David
I've not
found
been
out he
renewed.
was
The mayor has not
stepping
renewed
down.
me.
So I think, sure, if you have people to suggest, it's probably a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
so how many vacancies will there be?
3.
3.
And those suggestions should go to the mayor.
Yeah.
Because he nominates them and the city council approves them.
When is your term up, David?
December 31st.
Oh my
This is my last
gosh.
meeting.
Yeah, and it's Lee's last meeting as well. And I'm going to tell you this, Jim, I'm not taking the chair.
I'm just an alternate.
Now we found it out who's the second alternate.
Well, I know 2 people we have to
Nancy?
plant trees for.
I think that leaves you.
Yeah, he might be chair.
I can't type.
Yeah, okay. Not my problem.
Well, Dave, I think we have to formally thank you for
Yeah.
all that you've done.
And Lee and also David Sinkoff as well,
Yes.
because I think all 3 of us have been on almost for the same amount of time.
Well,
How
I
many
started
years?
in 99, so.
Well, you might have started before me then. I'm not sure.
Wow.
Since 99?
Yeah, when my son went off to college, I felt that I could now step into other things, so.
And I came on because a large group of the commissioners resigned because of an issue over the code enforcement, or lack of it at one point, leaving Alvy, I think, in charge of Alvy Williams in charge of the Tree Commission. And,
Oh, really? Is that what happened?
yeah, and my wife was one of the commissioners, and she resigned, and Alvy then asked me to come and be a tree
Yeah, and
commissioner.
she
So how
recruited
many
me
years
too.
have you served?
What?
How many years have you served, David?
I don't know.
Yeah.
What did you say?
I asked him how many years he had been on. You've been chair for many, many years.
Yes.
Yeah, well, someone just discovered that we're only to serve 3 terms.
2 terms.
3 terms.
Two 3-year terms.
Having served 20 years, I'm sure.
I'm not sure.
How long is a term?
3 years.
3. So you're only supposed to serve 6 years?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. Resume our attention on the minutes, and
Before we go on, should we be looking for people ourselves, or?
I have no
Well,
idea.
that's what happened before.
I was recruited by the mayor, so I would assume
Maybe he has some other people in mind.
that,
Well, how did I get here?
I think I suggested you.
yeah,
That's what I said.
believe.
Should we be suggesting people?
yeah.
If you can suggest
Go
them,
ahead,
suggest them
suggest
to the mayor.
to Steve, yeah.
Yeah, so we send an email to the
To the mayor.
mayor.
Well, who do you think?
Well, I think
You don't need to discuss it now.
We don't, now it's not
it's
appropriate
something
time.
that you can...
Susan Calhoun.
The
Let me
one,
retire first.
the one constraint is they have to live within the city limits.
Right.
Ah, I
Which
don't.
makes it, that makes it hard.
Yeah.
Where do you live, Susan?
I live 7 miles out to the west.
Yeah.
To the west.
Yeah.
To the west.
So, anyway, yes, if you've got suggestions, please send them to the mayor. I mean, he's the one who's going to appoint the replacements. So, the minutes. The last meeting, I have printed off just the text of the minutes. There will be a lot of plans attached, and they were attached to the email copy I sent out last night.
Yeah, I looked at it, so.
And that's there really for the record, because as it's been pointed out by the law director, our minutes are the only records that the city is maintaining of our decisions. So it's important that everything goes into the minutes that we can put in there regarding any decision.
All right. Well, I vote to approve. I don't know if anybody else read them. Sorry.
I wasn't there, but I'll second.
Thank you, Jim.
I thought they
Are
were
there any other questions at all about the minutes? If not, are there any objections to approving the minutes? Hearing none, we have minutes of the meeting of the November 4th. I will write up the minutes of this meeting and circulate them to the members present and the one who isn't. And I would note that our next meeting is due to be on January 13th, at 7 o'clock in the council chamber. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
It says